Workiva, an NYSE-listed software company, says that it's helping clients all over the world solve new challenges by incorporating artificial intelligence. I sat down with Steven Soder, Workiva's VP and industry principal, and Mandy McReynolds, Workiva's Chief Sustainability Officer and VP of External Affairs and Customer Advocacy. Take a listen.
So we recently performed a survey of over 2,300 global practitioners. Nearly all of them said that they were getting more value from AI today than they were a year ago, which is exciting. But some of the challenges that they're having is on data, high quality data, governance and security, as well as role-specific training. And those three things are absolutely critical when it comes to some technologies that are as pivotal and important as AI.
Anything you'd like to add, Mandy?
I think when we look at it, we look at our 6,400 global customers, 85% of the global 1,000. And they're practitioners like Steve and I. They work in risks, finance, and sustainability. And it might surprise those listening in or people like yourself to learn that if you ask them about AI, like, are you worried about adoption? No. Are you worried about money? No. What are you actually worried about? And Steve says it well. They're worried about the talent. They're worried about how are we going to get this job done in a field that's already facing shortages in a time where their burnout is very real. We ask our customer executives and they say they're very concerned about that. So when they look at AI and intelligence that's designed, as Steve said, for the job to be done, they see it as this incredible landscape where they can save their teams up to 30, 40, 65% time so that they can unleash the talent of their teams. And that's what I think Workiva is doing that is so remarkably special.
And what are some of the use cases? How is it impacting businesses that you work with?
So for the customers that we serve, we hear all the time just how difficult and tough the job is. It can be monotonous, it can be tedious. There's some risk involved as well. So where we're starting with AI is helping them do their role-specific jobs better, including drafting disclosures, checking for consistency, being sure that they are accurate and compliant with accounting standards or sustainability standards, which, that's a whole other path that we can go down given the complexity. When it comes to audit and risk, we're also talking about automating those manual tasks like drafting flowcharts, risk assessments, testing plans. And these are having massive impacts for customers. One customer saved over 3 weeks' time for their financial reporting process. Another customer cut their sustainability reporting process by 40%. Those are meaningful impacts because that's time the teams could be spent doing something else rather than just preparing reports, actually driving impact.
And what has adoption been like in businesses? What are people's reactions? How are you helping to onboard them? What does that process look like?
I think when you onboard people in the process, you don't start with thinking about it as technology. You actually start with thinking about it as an issue of trust. And the first barrier to most companies and organizations is what Steve said is, do they actually trust the platform to be secure? And is this a place where their data can be housed that is something they can trust with the governance structure across the CFO, the Chief Sustainability Officer, and the CIO? The second issue of trust is data and the data strategy. Most of us that go into the AI tool, and those especially in the profession, 2/3 actually do not trust the data. So it has to be in a trusted source. And then the final piece that you really see is I'm showing up for a job to be done. So when people like practice, and Steve and I do, and you've used generic AI tools, right? So how many times have you gotten a prompt wrong?
I have.
A lot. Yes, all of us, right?
Yes.
All of us have gotten prompting wrong. Well, actually, our prompting library within the platform was designed by people like Steve and I, people who actually went in for a job to be done. And what we're seeing is adoption increases because they can go in and it's sourcing questions that are relevant to their profession. And they're not wasting time trying to figure out what the prompt is.
I'm hearing in your answer that trust and security are paramount when you're rolling this out in a company. How, Steve, are you working toward establishing that and providing secure parameters for your technology?
Well, I think companies right now are having to grapple with this question of do I pull something generic off the shelf or do I get something that is role specific and specialized? And one of the benefits of role specific AI is that it's already within a platform you know how to use. It's already within a platform where you have access to the data and it's already subject to your governance and security. Those are three massive issues that any technology question is going to need to consider. That's, I think, part of why this role-specific AI becomes so much more compelling because you can simply go faster with it as opposed to the alternatives.
All right, and Mandy, as the Chief Sustainability Officer, how is the sustainability community reacting to AI and adopting it?
I think they're actually in the survey, one of the most surprising stats we found is they are the most hopeful that it will reduce these mundane tasks that they have to do within compliance and reporting and thinking about it as really transforming their jobs to be done. And so what they're finding with the cost savings of productivity and time is they're actually able to focus on things like the financial growth of their company with products, transformational plans and cost reduction opportunities or energy reduction opportunities. And so I think that's the piece that the profession sees it as when we use responsible AI, we're able to speed up the work and actually do what is most informative to both society and the business.
And I understand, speaking of sustainability, that you're here to participate in the New York Stock Exchange's Sustainability Roundtable. It's also Climate Week. What are your takeaways?
I think one of the takeaways is interesting, both from Climate Week and from our user conference at Amplify. Steve and I have a chance to sit around with executives in the office of the CFO, the CIO, and the Chief Sustainability Officer. And we asked a unique question both here and at that user conference around how many of you a few years ago used to engage with your CIO? And one person in the entire room raised their hand. And then today we're like, how many today are? And a third said they are. And I think that's what we're seeing is they need executive buy-in from each of these core areas to work together on what is building resilience for their organization, what is building opportunity, and how are they moving forward with these dual impacts aligned. And so we're seeing that kind of as a new wave of not just the Chief Sustainability Officer and the CFO coming together, but how the CIO is playing a critical role in where we go in the future.
And Steve, you recently announced Workiva AI. Can you share more about that?
We are thinking about agentic AI very specifically. That's a commonly used term out in the market. And what I love is that we've been crystal clear on what we mean by agentic AI. The first is perception, meaning that it's going to be able to perceive data within the context of everything that you have within the platform. It's going to be able to reason, which is to apply logic to that context. And then third, it's going to be able to take action, automating some of those manual tasks that we talked about earlier, but always with a human involved. One of the things that I love about what our AI is doing, and Mandy brought this up, it's allowing people to do higher value work, like a sustainability practitioner, being able to drive impact as opposed to just focusing on reporting. That's the kind of potential that AI is unlocking for our customers.
Thank you, Steve Soter and Mandy McReynolds, for that interview.